Hey everybody, Tyheam here, and on this episode of Tyheam Talks, I'll be discussing DC vs. Marvel. This pivotal comic book miniseries came out in April of 1996, and it pitted the DC universe versus the Marvel universe, the loser of which would cease to exist because of these two cosmic brothers actually forgot that the other existed, and then they happened to notice each other, and so they wanted to see whose universe was better. So they plucked everybody from the universes and decided to make them do battle. This series kind of actually blew my mind. I was just right out of high school and just really starting to get into comics, and this kind of like just happened right at the beginning of me getting into comics. So it kind of helped shape my love of comic books. There were 11 primary battles, but only 5 were fans could vote on. Uh, in the 6 mid card battles, which were good, some not so much, were Aquaman versus the Submariner. That was an okay battle, culminating with Aquaman dropping a killer whale on Namor. I thought that was pretty okay. Elektra versus Catwoman. Uh, didn't really know much about Elektra at the time, but I wasn't really that interested in that battle. Flash versus Quicksilver. I was kind of digging because I like Flash. Robin versus Jubilee. That was kind of a bit of a crap fight. Robin actually beat Jubilee without even throwing a single punch. But I hate Jubilee, so it didn't really matter. I was glad Robin won. Silver Surfer versus the Green Lantern, I thought would have been an interesting one. And by the way the battle was ending up, the Green Lantern, used his power ring and built up this epic freaking space jousting get up, and they kind of ran at each other full speed there at the end of the battle. But somehow Silver Surfer pulled it off. And the final mid-card battle is Thor versus Captain America. I thought was kind of interesting because it took place in an amusement park, and they were battling back and forth for a while, and I thought it was kind of neat where I believe it was Captain Marvel picked up a Ferris wheel and shot it at Thor discus style, and Thor, just bringing down the mighty thunder of Mjolnir and ultimately winning the battle, but in the process, he lost his hammer. Ooh. But it's okay. The hammer didn't stay lost for long because somebody found it, and as we all know, only he who is worthy can pick up the hammer and wield the power of Thor, and the person that found it was able to wield that power, and that person was Wonder Woman. She was able to pick it up and gain the power of Thor. And then that brings us to the main card. These 5 battles were the ones that were fan voted on. They include, for the first fight, we'll go with Wolverine. I mean, not Wolverine, but Storm versus Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, knowing that what she had, charged with the power of Thor, actually could have won this battle easily. But she was all noble and all that good stuff and was like, I could just easily defeat you with this power, but that wouldn't be fair. So what does the idiot do? She drops the hammer and soundly gets her tail handed to her by Storm. I guess that's what you get. Wolverine versus Lobo. This was the only Marvel character that I had chosen. I had picked a win because I didn't really know Lobo, but everybody knows Wolverine. And they ended up fighting in a intergalactic bar, so it was just like a barroom brawl, which was kind of neat. And of course Wolverine coming out with the win because he's freaking Wolverine. Spider-Man versus Superboy. Anybody that knows me, when I talk about Superboy, I am so not a fan of the today Superboy being all broody and moody and oh, woe is me. I'm a huge fan of 90s Superboy with a leather jacket, cocky, and of course he was my pick to win this fight They was fighting on rooftops and all that good stuff, and old young Superboy was coming in for the final blow, and old Webhead hit him with some impact webbing, and Superboy fell into this big electrical transformer, and suffice to say, Spider-Man won. Oh well. The next battle is Batman versus Captain America. Of course, I wanted the Bat to win, but turns out they fought in a sewer. And their battle actually lasted about 3 days. And they were so evenly matched that it ultimately ended up being a draw. But the main event of this fight is Superman versus the Hulk. And they were transported out into a desert. And Superman, looking around, realizing where they were, was in the middle of saying, "Oh, we must have been transported here so we wouldn't hurt any innocents." In the middle of saying innocents, the Hulk sucker punched him. Real Bush League move on the part of the Hulk, but hey, you gotta get whatever you can get. And they battled out back and forth, and then, Superman, realizing the Hulk could take a lot of damage, just hit him with a full blast of heat vision, and ultimately won the fight. After the battle was over, it turned out that the Cosmic Brothers, decided, yeah, neither side's gonna win. We're just gonna combine them together, and that brings us to the next section of this show, Amalgam Comics. The brothers decided to merge the two universes and give us a whole slew of characters, including Super Soldier, which is an amalgamation of Superman and Captain America. It looked pretty cool, kind of Captain America-ish, but his shield was the Superman S. I think my personal favorite was probably Spider-Boy, which was an amalgamation of Superboy and Spider-Man. Really cool looking get up. He had a web gun instead of web shooters. The fan favorite seems to be Darkclaw, which is the amalgamation of Wolverine and Batman. Aesthetically, totally awesome looking. I actually liked him, even though Spider-Boy is my favorite, but Darkclaw comes into a real close second. He also had some teams, like the JLX, and I believe one of the other teams was the Judgment League Avengers. Their 2 miniseries came out of Amalgam Comics, and in the second series, you got like other amalgamations, like the Iron Lantern, which is an amalgamation of Green Lantern and Iron Man. And I thought they were Challengers of the Fantastic, an amalgamation of the Fantastic Four and another group called the Challengers of the Unknown. I'm not familiar with them at all, but I would love to see something, an animated movie would be great. Maybe a 2-parter, the first part being the DC versus Marvel, and part 2 maybe being Amalgam Comics. And I like the way the logo of Amalgam Comics looks. It's a nice combination of DC and Marvel Comics, their logos combined. But yeah, DC versus Marvel totally changed my perspective of comic books. Totally love it. I highly recommend it to anyone. It still kind of holds up, almost 20 years later. Good read. I highly recommend everyone check it out if you can. But I think that's about it for today's episode. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about, please comment in the comment section below. You don't have to be clean, but I do ask that you be respectful. And tune in next time on our next exciting adventures of Tyheam Talks. Bye-bye, everybody.